Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in with a kind of different video. So if you follow the manga reviews in general, you probably know that aside from Hero Academia, I don't really follow, well, I don't really make videos for too many others. I sometimes try, but most of the time I don't feel like I have anything worthwhile to say about any particular chapter besides, oh yeah, it was pretty solid. Not all chapters give you the level of content that One Piece, Shokugeki no Soma used to do or My Hero Academia do. Sometimes they do, but it really depends on what arc we're in. So what I'm going to do here instead is actually go through a roundup. Just say what I think I liked about the smaller chapters this week. And if any chapter has a big talk having to do with it, we can put that in its own little video. But that way you guys can check out my thoughts on whatever series you also happen to be reading. So hopefully this will be a fun little video for you, and hopefully I'll be able to keep it up. Because of the problem is I feel bad not having much to say about it. Well, having all of them in one video will probably make it more worthwhile. Anyway, we'll begin this week with Kimetsu no Yaiba. Also, I will make sure to put, well, the timings for which chapters the time codes for the chapters in the description down below, maybe. Yeah, I think that'd be fair. Yeah, we'll put it in the description. Anyway, for Kimetsu no Yaiba chapter 194, we're continuing the battle against Muzan. There are a few interesting things that popped up in the chapter that I think are important to take note of. But I'm not very good at predicting Kimetsu no Yaiba, so don't hold me to them. But one thing I think is really funny is that we pretty much have a half-blind man, a blind man, a snake, and a dead man all contributing to this one battle. It's honestly really funny how this chapter went, I think, with just Muzan just not being able to get rid of these guys once and for all. And I do love it that Muzan realized that a dumb animal is predicting his attacks. Like, come on, man, that's funny. The guy's getting his ego crushed here. It's hilarious. Anyway, I do like the stuff that was presented in the chapter. Speaking of animals, we also had the cat being returned. Great. I'm really glad the cat is still alive. And it's interesting that the cat is a demon. And Yushiro turned it into a demon right before the big battle. Now, what I'm thinking, in terms of theory crafting, Himejima, like, he's having a pretty tough time here. And I'm wondering, the story doesn't make it seem like it's gonna happen because Yushiro is kind of relying on Tamayo to help Tanjiro because he's making that final prayer to her. But I do wonder if Yushiro could turn Himejima into a demon. You know, just turn him into a demon with his cells and then have him get into fight with Muzan. I think that would be really interesting. That would be one way to cheat death. I mean, like, the guy does mention that we still have like 50 minutes left until sunrise. Like, this is taking a long time, man. Like, this is going to be a while. And we need every moment we can get. So that would be really neat if we had the guy turned into a demon just for this little bit. We have an idea that we can probably make the turn back into a human potion. So I'm kind of hoping that this character could have that situation occur to him. Turns into a demon and he turns back after they get done with this whole fight against Muzan. I think that'd be really fair. Anyway, in terms of other really good highlights, it was absolutely cool when Uro came in and was able to save Tanjiro. It's absolutely cool that he's listening to his snake. Other information, I think it's cool that Tanjiro isn't just getting the win here and that he is still taking time. And I do like that the oxygen deprivation is being brought up as a problem. I think this is all pretty cool. And I also like that it's being confirmed that everyone's attacks are weakening Muzan. I think that's really good. Because it would be really sad if we aren't making any progress here. If they are chipping away at him, it makes things feel a little bit better. And that kind of leads me to like the final pages here where we see all the scars on Muzan's body, and then Tanjiro tells us those scars are coming from, well, all the damage that Yoruichi did to the guy over so many years. I think that was really cool. I would like to know the logic behind this because Tanjiro says that he was burnt at a cellular level. And I don't think that's correct, given that cells die so often. And given that the guy can regenerate, I would be willing to say that Muzan was burned on the level of DNA, on the level of amino acids. I think that's much cooler. He was burned down on a DNA level. But, you know, that's just nitpicking. I understand what the author is trying to imply with, or the translation is trying to imply with that statement. But yeah, I do think it's cool that his very DNA was burned. Because that makes sense to me. And again, I think it's DNA because cells regenerate and because cells die off. Quite literally, the cells that were hit by the fire initially would be dead. But the DNA, that might stay there forever. Yeah, no, I like that. But again, manga logic. I think that was pretty cool. It's cool to see how how much damage Orichi has done to him as you're looking at those pages. Anyway, Tanjiro tells us that those are his weak spots. So I'm really hoping for something cool here. I'm really hoping that they'll take advantage of that. He has weak spots all over his body. Like, they better go after that. I do wonder when Nezuko's going to show up. Someone in the comments for Viz was saying that it's been so long since Nezuko started running. But, like, when you consider there's only 50 minutes, they haven't moved that far in this whole journey. So this is going to be a pretty painful time. I hope by next chapter we at least move another 10 minutes down to the finish line. That'd be really neat. Okay. We got 5 minutes on that one. Let's head to the next series. What's the next one? We'll talk about the new series, Guardian of the Witch. So Guardian of the Witch is only on its 3rd chapter, which kind of changes how we have to consider this. Right now, when I'm looking at this series, I'm not really thinking that... I ain't thinking this is going to make it. There's a lot of tells that it probably won't make it. One of the big tells is that the main character isn't an underdog. This chapter established that the guy is renowned amongst the Guardians. Oh wait, I guess I should tell you, like, if you don't know about this series, it's a new series in Shonen Jump. It's kind of like Attack on Titan, sort of. But anyway, there's a guy and a witch. He has to protect the witch. In turn, the witch protects a whole walled city from giant monsters coming in. The monsters are called evils. You know, pretty simple setup. It's pretty much we're inside of the walls. We have to protect ourselves. The guy's motivation is to one day be able to have the cities be protected without the need for a witch. There's a whole giant system about how witches work and how the Guardians get involved in that. Right now, the goal of the party is to go and turn or save the girl from her fate of being a witch. Pretty much witches have to be killed before they turn into evils themselves. So they turn into the enemy that they're trying to fight. They're trying to save this girl, their current witch, from that. It's, you know, understandable. It's a pretty easy setup. Anyway, for this chapter, like I was saying, it establishes that the character is well known, and then it gives us a little bit more about the rest of the world, and it gives us a goal. So in terms of, like, the basics of a series, it's good that they have a goal. In this one, their goal got a little bit more illustrated with there is another witch that was retired, not executed, so she continued living whereas all other witches had to be killed, had to be executed. So if this girl was able to continue living, maybe we could get it to work for our current girl. So good stuff that we got the goal there. But I'm really confused about the world building. In this one, we find out that the characters are heading towards a village, and we find out there's like, what, 7 villages or so? Let me see. I have the thing right here. Yeah, 7 villages. And I'm looking at the setup, and it's like, this isn't a walled city. That's barely a barricade. How is this place so safe? Why is it that the evils aren't attacking? Because right throughout this chapter, we find that the evils are about as prevalent as Pokemon in tall grass. They just jump out and attack you. So why is this small settlement still alive? Is there something having to do with population? Because when you look at the village, that is not as big as a city. Is the population what causes the evils to target it less? Does that village have a witch there to protect it? I'm really curious, but right now the world building seems kind of shaky to me. The other thing that this chapter introduced is that there's probably a rival in that new guy that was shown off in the chapter. He's alright. Like, I could very easily see him becoming a friend, and if there's anything that this guy presents, it's that this is a new power avenue for our main character. Our main character could probably adapt some of the techniques that this other rival is doing, because this guy's clearly using the powers of the witch to help him out. So we'll probably see that in play. I think we've already seen that potential when we looked at the color spread for this series. So honestly, right now, they've got the ingredients to make like the standard kind of shonen. But the main character being so strong already from the beginning is putting it at a disadvantage. We have to see how much of an underdog he's going to be turned into when he has his confrontation with his rival here, or with his next adversary. But yeah, so far the story's doing a good job justifying why these guys have to fight. They're doing a good job justifying why these guys are traveling. But I am definitely curious. I'm curious about some of the choices here. Where it is right now, I don't think this is getting beyond 25 chapters. Probably not. Anyway, let's move on to the next series. Oh, 5 minutes to talk about that. Ooh. Next up, Chainsawman, chapter 58. So, what's going on with Chainsaw Man? Well, Chainsaw Man this week gave us pretty much an introduction chapter, kinda like a little bit of well, not introduction. It's more like setup. It's, I guess, yeah, setup, and maybe a little bit of power demonstration. We definitely get a power demonstration for the old man at the end, but it's pretty much just establishing all the parties who are coming after Denji. Just, I guess, strengthening them because we were introduced to them a little bit earlier. So let's start with the first portion where we have the group of monster girls pretty much coming in. The weirdest thing in all of this, like, first off, we're getting the characterization, right? The characterization is all cool. They're having a really nice time eating the conveyor belt. The best thing about this whole thing is that they're holding off on the job until tomorrow. Like, that's all cool. Good character. What I'm curious about is the effects of Halloween. In the chapter, we start off the chapter with a man in the first page saying Halloween 4 times. What is that? What does that even have to do with anything? Then we continue through and we have Halloween continuously repeating herself until like another guy is saying this. And then he says, right this way, Halloween. So people are thinking that this looks like some kind of mind control, which is interesting. If I only had the page with the people at the restaurant, I wouldn't have thought there was mind control going on. And the girl's a zombie, so maybe there's like some kind of weird like zombie logic for why this is working. Like everyone gets turned into a Halloween zombie. But thanks to the first page with the guy saying Halloween 4 times, that really makes me feel there is some kind of compulsion to this Halloween aspect. Really interesting. Anyway, for the portion of the girls coming in to do their business at the conveyor belt place, the sushi place, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool to see all the characters, just them having a nice time. It was pretty slice of life when you think about it. The majority of the chapter was slice of life. Anyway, we move on and we go to watch the remaining one of the 3 brothers just pretty much guilting himself. He's gone to the house of a friend, just checking it out. What I enjoy here is the remorse that he's feeling. I love how, as his friend's talking to him, he's thinking about this guy's life. And I love how he ultimately breaks down saying sorry to the guy he killed. So I kind of liked seeing that kind of remorse. I liked seeing that doubt. That was really cool, man. It was honestly really, really cool. I appreciated that all the way. So I also liked how when he's thinking about his brothers, you know, that goes into the conversation with his own brothers, and we go back to the immortal brothers, and we're seeing how they justify themselves being immortal, with them saying that they're ruthless, soulless, and emotionless. That's why they're immortal. These guys always struck me as being a little bit out of their element here. They struck me as being out of their scope. It's really cool to see how they indoctrinated their brother to come back and get the job done. I have no hope for this guy. If this guy's actually able to do something worthwhile, I'd be very surprised. This guy just seems like he's walking into a giant problem pretty much. Anyway, really appreciated that. I thought that was cool. I also liked how they were standing on rubble, which I assume is like based on their own experiences surviving, what was it, the gun devil. So the rubble that they stand on is probably the wreckage that they survived when they were children. So I think that made a lot of sense. Anyway, in terms of like the emotional value, the chapter got a lot of emotion from that. Like, I would have been quite alright if the mimicry guy, or the remaining brother, if he just went and just lived out his life as this guy. I know that would be kind of hard considering the last chapter, but it would be cool if he did. It'd be cool if he did. He probably could have gotten away with it for like at least a couple of months. But yeah, that was cool. Anyway, finally we see the last guy getting involved in here, the old man. I love what he's doing. He's turning people into puppets. I love the visual of it, how it looks like he touches one guy, that other guy's touching another person. It's like a contagion. People that are in the chain turn into the puppets. I'm all into that. I would love to see how that goes. He seems like he has a tricky power. So we have 3 killers, all of them unique. Well, one of the killers is kind of weakened, but I want to see where we go here. I hope it turns into a free-for-all with everyone just versus everyone. That would be hilarious. If the final brother survives all the way to the end, that would be hilarious as well. And I would not be surprised, but that would be pretty cool if the author goes for it. Also, the last time I covered Chainsaw Man, people told me to read Fire Punch. Was it Fire Punch? I read Fire Punch. So thanks for letting me know about that series for those guys who told me all the way back then. Anyway, yeah, for this week of Chainsaw Man, I think it was a pretty solid chapter. Last week's chapter of Chainsaw Man was also epically hilarious. Whoa, had to take a break there. Anyway, we're moving on. Going now into Dr. Stone, chapter 139. Dr. Stone this week came in with a lot of content. There was all like looking at how much stuff was being said. Like yeah, quite a lot. Not only that, it also mixed in some of the some combat scenes and some discovery scenes in there. But overall, Dr. Stone this week to me felt like a good amount of a lot of things being said, but not a lot of things actually being imported. And where I'm ultimately falling with Dr. Stone, it's cool that we got this new character. Let me look at his name here. What is his name? Oh man, I can't spot it. He had like a older name, the samurai looking guy with a moon on his back, or sorry, a moon on his forehead. Anyway, can't find the name, so we'll just call him Moon Guy. Anyway, not a lot of, I think, important things were said, and there are some things that I'm kind of curious about. So first off, let's just talk about it. The new introduction, the new character, I think he was cool. I think that was really neat. In terms of finding out that the moon is the place where the Y-Man is and the whole detective process figuring out where the Y-Man is, I think that's totally fine. I do like that Dr. Stone is moving towards getting Senku in space. I think that's really appropriate given that that's one of Senku's dreams. That said, because of the way that everything is structured here, it does feel really rushed. We are just moving all over the place, and one thing that I'm really concerned of when I'm looking at this is that, well, Senku doesn't ask questions about the petrification device. Like, this guy flat out says a great number of petrification devices came down from the sky. A great number. That is weird. That is strange. I don't trust that at all. The reason I'm pretty sketched out by this whole issue with the devices falling from the sky and Senku just running away to go get his calculations done, I'm concerned about it because the times that Senku has made mistakes, and Senku has made mistakes. Why am I wearing this? Senku has made mistakes. This has been confirmed. Whenever he does make those mistakes, it's when he hasn't considered all of the information. Can I remember any off the top of my head? I remember there was a time that he didn't account for the rotation of the Earth, and I think I remember a time where he didn't account for something that geologists would know. Point is, when Senku doesn't have enough information, he makes mistakes. So, when you have a man quite literally telling you about a great calamity that occurred with multiple devices falling from the sky, I question all of that. That is strange to me, right? I feel like Senku just ran away without getting all the information. Now, if Senku is planning to get that information in the next 5 chapters, then you know what? That's all cool. It's just, this guy was a well of information, and I just think it's unfortunate that we didn't get all the information, because if Senku's going to lose, it's going to be, or have a setback, it's going to be from him not taking into account a particular bit of information. We know how Senku goes about it. That's the only reason I'm concerned. It's because in terms of his character flaws, we've seen this before. Although this one is one of his own doing. Any other things that were cool in the chapter? Well, like in general, yeah, it was pretty cool to see the new character be able to match Kohaku and the other girl. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen some of the other people. I do want to see, what is his name? Kyoiga? Is that it? Well, you know, the guy with the cool spear. I keep forgetting his name because he doesn't... If I don't see these guys very often, I'm going to forget their names, so I'm just rushing through everything. But yeah, no, a lot of information in the chapter, but a lot of dialogue, but not a lot of things that we can actually work on. The gimmick of Ginro having his own personal samurai, though, that was pretty funny. But yeah, Dr. Stone this week, it's cool. I like that that's the next goal, that we're heading to the moon. I am kind of concerned because it does feel to me like this is going pretty fast. But I'm all for it. I want to see how Senku's going to approach this situation. That'd be really neat. Okay, moving on to Samurai 8, The Tale of Hachimaru next. So I think that this series is on the way out. I see that the way that they just collected a bunch of keys all at once, I think this series is very much on the way out. When I look at the reading order from the Shonen Jump magazine, Samurai 8 is at the bottom of the magazine for last week, this week, and even the week before last week. Yeah, man, I have no real hope in Samurai 8 at this point, continuing on. I think this is wrapping up. It makes a lot of sense to me that it would be wrapping up. I'd be very surprised if we get past chapter 75 with Samurai 8. That said, the stuff going on this week, in some parts it was pretty cool to read, but then in some parts it was pretty annoying. Man, especially the last page. Well, when I say annoying, not like actually like super annoying. I mean just tedious. I guess that's a better word. It's tedious. Cause I'll just read the last page. The last page is just. I'm really happy that people. How would you say? Support the two people talking. I think it's really good that they went to talk. But when they go to talk, it's just. There's a lot of things going on. Anne's coming in with her brother problem. Not brother problem, but her hangups on her brother. And Hachimaru's coming in with just a general awkwardness. It was painful to kind of see that happen, but I'm really hopeful that next week they'll air it all out and they come to understand each other more. On that note, though, it was really cool to see that Goku is actually way cooler than I thought he was going to be. Honestly, I thought Goku was going to be the kind of guy that just comes in there just to ruin things for Hachimaru. And when I say ruin, I mean just make things unnecessarily difficult. Like, you know, they go through this whole little arc of a spat. And when I say arc, I'm like imagining 10 chapters of drama, right? They go through 10 chapters of drama and then you know, eventually Anne goes back to the status quo, except now it's an improved relationship. I was really dreading that kind of situation. I didn't want Goku to be a heel, but in this situation, Goku's being very helpful, and that makes Hachimaru seem even worse in comparison, just because he's getting a lot of help from a lot of different sources, but he's not picking up on it. And when An calls Hachi out on the fact that this situation isn't about Goku, like Goku's not as the center of this, I do agree with her. Like, this is a Hachimaru based problem. It's just he was comfortable, and then Goku shows up, and then he realizes all of his deficiencies. So it's really interesting. I'm glad that Goku turns out to be a more or less neutral person. I like that he's giving the kid advice, and even Hachimaru's teacher points it out when he goes and says that this is going to be a good opponent for his student. One thing though, I do feel it's super aggressive how Hachimaru is just so quick to say he doesn't need On's help. I do think that was played up in order to make the situation more tense, but it feels more forced than it did organic. That said, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I'm all for communication, and I do like that between Goku and the situation with Hachimaru and On, it's not the worst. It's not the worst at all. I like that the characters are communicating, and I like that characters pushed for the characters to communicate. Although I will say that when we're talking about things being rushed, you go from one panel of people telling them to go meet up, and then immediately after they're meeting up, right? Like, there isn't that traditional wallowing in their feelings that other series would do, or even maybe Naruto would do. So that is telling me that they are trying to move along with this story. Like I said, I don't expect to see this past chapter 75, and even then, I'm being, I think, very generous, I think would be the word. I'm being very generous with that estimate. Next up, We Never Learn, chapter 147. I read a lot of series, almost all of the Shonen Jump series right now. With chapter 147, what I want to say is that we are going down the list into finding out who's going to be this kid's final girl. And the final girl seems to be Uraka. At least from what it's saying, because at the end of the chapter, Yui is running off to go get the girl after Fumino and Ogata spent time trying to bring up diversions for him. So, and all in all, pretty cool. I'm not too surprised. Like, really, if you didn't see it, I made a video. What was it called? Oh yeah, who won season 1 of the anime for We Never Learn? And in season 1, like Fumino and Uraka had the most lines. I felt that Fumino won season 1, but Uraka had I think a couple more lines than Fumino. So in terms of the line count, Uraka won. When you look at that, it's very clear that, at least from the perspective of the anime, they were pushing for her. So I can't really say much for the chapter, because between 146 and 147, not much really changes. All that's really changed is that the girls gave the guy a pep talk, some encouragement to go and chase after the girl. All it really did was just close the plot lines that were established with the other two girls. So not really that much changes. If you're a fan of Ogata and Fumino though, that's pretty much what you're getting here, right? You're getting to see their closure events. I'm still kind of hoping that the character gets told by Uraka that, you know, something else comes in and complicates it. Not because I dislike Uraka, but just because I want to see what would happen, because one of my favorite parts of reading a chapter were reading people's comments to it. How some of them are just not feeling Uraka because they felt that she wasn't as interesting as the other two characters. And I love it when I'm reading the salt based on ships, right? Like reading about people's preferred ships is always fun for me, at least. Sometimes it gets a little bit tedious, sometimes it gets a little bit annoying, but in this case, I just absolutely love this, and I do like that it seems like the author for We Never Learn is going towards one conclusion. I want to see how it's gonna go. That said, I am still hoping for some diversion or like some twist around here, because me personally, I'm really rooting for the teacher. I think that would be cool. But if Uraka gets the guy, you know what? Good for her. I think at the very least, I think the anime is supporting her. The season 1 of the anime made it very clear. As far as I was concerned, Ogata was never going to win this. But yeah, people pointed out how Uraka was never in the one shot, and how she didn't show up for like a little bit of volume 1. And I just saw like, well, there was one comment I read on Viz that she felt like a throwaway because of that. I'd be a little bit careful saying that, because really the story got created over the course of 147 chapters. There's a lot of time to make her feel legitimate. And I might just be biased because of the anime, but the anime made it so clear to me that they were favoring Fumino and Uraka. That's why I'm interested. I'm really interested. I'm still hoping for some epic twist here just to get the teacher involved, but probably not going to happen. Next up, Undead Unluck. I'm following the series casually. For this one, I thought it was more goodness of Undead Unluck. I think Undead Unluck is doing pretty alright right now. I find it really entertaining to watch. To read. I'm enjoying it. This week's chapter just had them running into their next enemy, who they have to try and take down. I'm interested. It's an action series. I don't really have much else to say for it. This chapter focused on making the girl think differently about her power. I think that was fine, and it did that little trick of you getting friendly with your enemy. All cool stuff. Don't really mind. I do want to see how this goes, but that's about what I got to say for Undead Unluck this week. Actually, one thing I do want to add, because I just remembered after seeing it here. Undead Unluck did something weird with that. There doesn't seem to be stars in this universe. Like, that's really interesting. Even if this thing is only going to be 20 chapters long, worst case scenario, that's interesting. That's really weird. I'm sure if you guys are watching this part, you probably also checked out Undead Unluck, but there was that whole segment where they were painting a picture of the sky, and the girl questions what are the sparkles around the moon, and then we have the girl saying, well, there's nothing up in space except for the moon and the sun, right? Yeah, this is really odd. Like, what is causing that? That is so interesting. Maybe it's someone's power in general. The weird thing, though, is that she can summon comets. Actually, no, that's not weird. If there aren't any stars in the sky... No, that doesn't make sense. Actually, now thinking about it, because you can see Venus in the sky as a star because it's reflecting light from the sun. Oh man, 5th grade astronomy, come on. 5th grade astronomy, think about it, Trip, think about it. Well, no, she's saying there's nothing in space except for the moon and the sun. No, okay, no. Now I'm looking at the dialogue more carefully. There's nothing in the space but the moon and the sun. That means there's no other planets. Oh my god, that is weird. Oh, I wonder what kind of power that's gonna be. When I first read that, didn't even occur to me. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was cool regardless. Anyway, that was the cool stuff for Undead Unluck this week. Moving on. I want to talk about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 4. Alright, this is a comedy series for those that don't know, about a guy that doesn't have magic that goes to magic school, and he's getting around it with just pure muscles. It reminds me a lot of Mob Psycho in terms of the style and the deadpan humor. This week had the main character finding his roommate and just a general talk. What they did this week was that they played up that trope of the noble kid that bullies everyone else and you can't do anything to him because his dad is a big deal in the big industry. It's a common trope that we get in magic schools. Like, heck, Sword Art Online did it like for this past season of Alicization. You know, we understand the trope. I did like what they did here with the main character just not understanding that he was being threatened and not taking it seriously. In terms of the story, that was pretty good. In terms of the comedy for the chapter, I enjoyed it. What I really loved about it was, well, I'm sure you guys again read it, but he throws a broom so hard that he then goes and mounts the broom on the air and makes it look like he's flying. I think that was hilarious. The whole thing's hilarious. I'm really enjoying it. I hope this thing goes for 100 chapters. You know what's even better? The guy totally forgets that the noble guy was calling him out to the behind the school, you know, like the whole bully thing, you know, what bullies do. Our main character just forgot because he was working on cream puffs. Come on. That's hilarious. That's so hilarious. Anyway, yeah, I think they're doing a good job setting up a antagonist for the main character, and I also think that for this the fourth chapter continues to be really funny. I love how deadpan everything is, and the guy being in his little apron at the end, come on, that was a hilarious image. Absolutely loved it. Anyway, that's gonna be my quick run through. I'm gonna call it there because we've covered quite a few series here. The ones that I'm not covering is because I need to reread a couple of the chapters because I did not feel equipped to talk about, for instance, Jujutsu no Kaisen, just because I need to reread some of the flashback chapters. But yeah, that was me for this week. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. And let me know if this was good enough for you. Did you like the presentation? It should have worked out. Anyway, yeah, till next time. Hope you have a great day.